So I had
a
4
scam.
land scams last month. And this is a message that to me, the scams are a big thing to get out there. A lot of agents will just say, oh, it's a scam. I'm not going to deal with it.
Right.
But when somebody is posing somebody else, they've already breached the integrity of that person. I said it's a complete scam. First of all, why don't you introduce yourself? How you introduce yourself when you meet people for the first time ever, which
Oh
is usually
gosh.
on the phone, right?
Usually it is on the phone, or sometimes it ends up even being through email. Hi there, I'm Laura Cella. I work with Berkshire, Hathaway, HomeServices, Verani, Realty. I got your notification that you were looking for some housing, and I wanted to touch base with you and seeing what you're interested in and where I can help you. I've been in real estate for just about 5 years with a finance background. I've got a lot of transactions under my belt that I can help you navigate this journey with. Yeah, it's always a difficult one, I feel like, when you're rolling off the tongue.
Right. What I say is, I always say that our success depends on each other. Now, that's with the client, that's with the customer, that's with other agents, right? We're in a business of relationships. And so we run into, now I've been doing it for 20 years,
Mhm.
which feels like 50 years, but that's okay. And I was in Manhattan and advertised for 16 years in Boston before coming up here. And I didn't know anything about real estate, and the agent didn't feel like telling me a lot of things. For instance, I didn't know what seasonal meant. I moved in January into a camp with no insulation and froze my little took us off. But we're in the business of information as well.
That's right.
So tell me a little bit about your finance background.
So I've been in finance for just about 20 years. The last 7 years I've spent supporting DoD contracts, worked supporting Air Force projects, FAA, and most recently the health contract. So I was helping project leaders with budgeting, making sure they were staying on target with the projects that they were working on, having discussions with upper management and directors, letting them know what their forecast was going to look like and if they were going to hit their targets or not. So there was a lot of anticipated needs, a lot of looking forward to see what roadblocks we could be up against, such as if we were running out of funding, if we were on target with our budget, if we were underspending, because that's also something that is a very real metric. So that was a good part of my career, and I would say it helped me definitely with real estate, being able to look forward for blips along the journey that could possibly really interrupt the buyer or the seller's transaction.
And you can forecast it in
We can
advance.
forecast
Yes.
in advance.
And then you can help them understand what to do once they have this money, 1031 exchanges and things like that, I assume.
That's absolutely correct. We would need to be able to have a contingency plan in place, have the primary plan, but also working alongside the contingency to see if we needed to course correct. And many times that's where my expertise ended up coming in, was being able to course correct at the last minute, whether we were up against the last final weeks of a quarter for delivery or at the end of a project, being able to have that secondary plan in place and be able to establish that correction very quickly.
Yeah, I've run into situations where people got bequeathed a lot of money and they suddenly think they have a lot of money and
Right.
they want to make an offer for a lot of money only to find that there were capital gains they knew nothing about. And
Right.
so I'm assuming you could guide them. You're not, of course,
That's correct.
an attorney and you're not a banker or a lender. You let them know that, but at least you can guide them. That's very helpful. I could see for sure.
Yeah.
Now, last year I got my main license, my commercial license, and my liquor license. I'm hoping one of them will make me money, but I'm right near the border of Maine. You being on your license, I understand, in both Massachusetts and New Hampshire.
Just New Hampshire. I actually saw that in the note
Oh,
down
just
here.
New Hampshire?
I
Oh, okay.
Just New Hampshire. Yep.
Okay. So you have friends in Massachusetts that you can go back and forth with and refer.
I do.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep.
So you can get people coming and going.
do. It's definitely an influx, I feel, from Massachusetts to the southern New Hampshire area for sure.
Right. And you encourage them to know that before they get into Massachusetts, they may as well stop at the liquor store because it will be cheaper.
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting thing in the restaurant business, which of course is totally different than everything, we buy our liquor at the liquor store, but beer, we have to go through a distributor.
Oh, that is interesting. I never would have known that.
And then I have friends who
Huh.
have a restaurant in Maine, and if they don't go through their distributor for liquor, they get in big trouble, but it costs more to go through their distributor.
I see. Oh, isn't that interesting?
So anyway, now where do you actually live? Because you cover much of the southern part of the state?
I do. So I'm in Raymond. I'm right off of 101.
Okay, yep.
Right in between 93, 95. So I'm equidistant on both sides.
Yeah, I lived in Northwood.
Oh, okay.
And I was working out of Coldwell Banker in Portsmouth. And back then, Coldwell Banker didn't recognize that I lived in Northwood. So they wouldn't refer stuff to Northwood because Northwood didn't exist.
Interesting.
But I found that in my very first year, I had 35% of all sales in Northwood with 4 other real estate companies in Northwood. So nobody knew where Northwood was. That's okay. So I know exactly where Raymond is. And it is. And I would say the same thing. That's why I have 800,000 miles in my car, because Northwood is halfway between anywhere else. And as I say, you can't get there from here, right?
Right.
Sounds like a Maine accent. I don't know. It's,
a hybrid. It's a hybrid.
The hybrid, accent. Yes. And I'm from Michigan. I don't have an accent, I'm told, except.
And that's funny. I'm a partial hybrid between Massachusetts and Florida. So I don't know what I have.
Well, people tell me all the time. Florida has an accent.
It does.
If you're in Boston, that's one thing. You know how easy it is to find contractors, who come on a dime and actually come. So, I mean, that just brings another part of real estate. I'm sure you've run, even though you've been in for 5 years, that's a long time. Because it's 10 years, right? Dog years. Right?
Yes.
What prompted you to go into real estate? Is it because you saw that doing budgeting for the government might be hard these days? I don't know.
No, so I would say, back when COVID was a thing, it definitely forced me to think about other avenues of my career and what my career could look like. And at the time I was in my master's program.
Oh.
And so I was definitely had my eyes open and learning more about how possibly AI could take over and what the future of work really looked like. And that really had a big impression on me. I don't think that there's anything in life that's forever. I think there's long periods of time for things, but I am of the belief that we are made up of so many talents and so many different ambitions, and I like to keep learning. So I decided that, hey, you know what, with all of this change going on, I'm going to jump right in there and continue evolving myself and elevating my skill sets. And I decided to take what I knew and get right into real estate. So I looked up the closest and quickest way to get through real estate school.
Which was what?
So I ended up going through the Berkshire, I forget the name of it now, but the Berkshire school.
The school. Oh, okay. So the school through the company rules. That's good.
Yeah. So I started exploring that, and I was like, hey, you know what? I really do like this. I've gone through the home buying process myself 3 times. I've been buying real estate, I feel like, since I was bought my first home when I was 26. Thank you. But I've always thought that what I built in corporate could transfer into this line of work. Mm-hmm. You've got your soft skills, you've got your corporate business strategies, things of that nature. So I was like, hey, might as well just get the license and see what I can do with it. So I started out part-time, and that was really difficult to work full-time with one hat and then break into real estate with your part-time hat. But it ended up working out. I ended up making a lot of different connections, making a lot of friends within the company, really getting myself out there, and it just worked. It just clicked. And I will say last year I was working, like I said, I was working for the DOD, and with our change in administration, I was actually laid off in a very mass layoff from my corporation. And so I became a full-time agent, and I was like very thankful that I had that under my belt already, and I'd already navigated the beginning process of becoming a realtor back when. So I was able to just jump right in, and it's worked out really well.
I believe that you started becoming a real estate agent long before you became a real estate agent, because I believe that we are all, in what we do, a combination of what we've done in the past, because it all helps. For me,
right.
I was in advertising in New York,
Mm.
deal with a lot of crazy people. And now I'm in real estate, I deal with a lot of crazy people, although some might think that I'm the one. Who knows? But it also fulfilled my need to do something where I could use both sides of my brain. So the creative side, I can do marketing and that kind of stuff. And then the other side, not having to work in an office, not having to have the same old, because I had friends that worked for like IBM. It's like, I'd be bored to tears.
Right.
Because we're in a business, we can close anywhere and everywhere and write off everything, maybe.
Flexibility is one of the biggest proponents of this business, and that was very important to me as the time evolved.
Yeah, we don't have vacation, but we can sell a house from vacation.
From vacation,
Okay.
exactly.
And it doesn't matter how long you've been doing it. I learned every time I have an inspector, I learn something new. The rules change.
Exactly.
Now, do you do a lot of waterfronts or some? A few?
I do. I've done some. The very beginning of my career, I had a client that was very ambitious and wanted to have a second waterfront home. And the transaction worked out and then it didn't work out, but I learned a lot in that time span that I was showing him homes. He was very particular about one particular area in Barnstead, and it was very difficult to get on that road. And so anytime a property would become available, we ran up and saw it. Unfortunately, he had some personal matters that came up during the transaction that we had to actually withdraw we had to withdraw our offer. We were very close, but in that time I learned a lot of details that any buyer would really need to do the due diligence on. And I think for him, ended up working out because he wanted to pull the trigger really quick, and it didn't give him enough time to do due diligence with me to really have that transaction go through. I think it was in a good place to have that with.
So in terms of waterfronts, now I've sold properties in more different lakes than any agent, so I collect lakes. My very first transaction was waterfront, so I created waterfrontagent.net. At that time, .com was not available.
I see.
And I paid $7,000 for that domain.
Oh my goodness.
Isn't that insane? But
that's insane.
If I didn't, I would have lost all my marketing at that time.
Right.
But my advertising background taught me that. In terms of being in this business, you're starting from nowhere. Nobody knows who you are, right? So how do you get known? You just have to go back to your contacts and start somewhere. Did you have a mentor when you started?
I did. And she is a fantastic mentor, and she's still my mentor as of today. So we were paired up by our managing broker, and then we ended up becoming very good friends. And so now it's just a matter of chit chatting through text or phone calls, or she'll pop by or I'll pop by her house. And it definitely makes or breaks, I think, the business when you have someone that you can lean on. And not that you can't lean on anyone within the firm, but it's almost convenient or definitely more friendly when you can just do a quick.
You can give her a plug. Who was your mentor?
Lisa Brochu. So
really?
All my credit goes.
I know her very well.
She's wonderful.
She is wonderful. And we've done transactions on Pleasant Lake in Deerfield. And she's great. That's perfect.
I call her the mayor of Pleasant Lake because she's always doing waterfront properties there. Yep.
My mentor is Kathy Youngs, who's been in the business since 1967. So older than my Jeep. That's all I can. Older than, yes, my fourth transaction was fraud. And so she helped me through all that.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And then speaking of fraud, I have hit so many frauds. See, my electrician, he's already taken the A&W root beer.
Cooking noodles in a couple of minutes.
Oh, that's good. See, I like A&W root beers from Michigan, where I'm from.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You didn't know it was A&W was from Michigan, or that I'm from Michigan? Doesn't matter.
No, I knew you were from. You shared that with the root beer.
So we're some mentors. Yeah, it's hard to find that in this business. You have a good one.
I
I'm
do.
a
I
big
do.
fan.
Like I said, she's become a friend. She's become
Yep,
a sister, really.
yep, that's perfect. And it's hard to get that in any business.
It is, especially a commission-based business where eventually you end up being a competition. And instead of viewing each other that way, it's let's help each other, not I need to work against her. She could be better or whatever the situation is. It's very refreshing. Even coming from corporate, I felt like there were very few people I could lean on that I could really ask for help or get insight or any of those things. So it's a very refreshing take being in this business.
So in this business, I've been asked many times if I wanted to start my own business, which I don't want to do that. It's too much back stuff that has to be done. B, to be partner with somebody, and partnerships are hard because it's never 50-50. And when it becomes 51%, 49, then the 51%er thinks it's 90%. The same in restaurants. So I always suggest is that if you're going to partner with somebody, that you make a deal with each other that whoever brings in whatever the client is, you take 75%. And the other person takes 25, and it's reverse. But then you're both working hard to bring in a client. And there's no question about what the partnership deal is. Maybe it's 70-30, maybe it's 65. So it feels a little bit more. But that's my suggestion to you.
Interesting. Very interesting. Yep. She's definitely helped me along the way, and may not be in those numbers, but she's definitely helped me along the way.
Yep. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Plus, it's a good company to be with.
Absolutely. Yep. Wouldn't think of changing. I love the brokerage.
Yep. Giovanni recruited me back because I was the former version of Prudential, then became Berkshire Hathaway, and then I left and quadrupled my income somewhere else. And then I was recruited back, which is good because they're just wonderful people. It's a family business.
And I think that's really what makes it the firm that it is.
Yes.
Being the broker that it is. It's very family based, and they do truly care. It's not just words, it's action.
Yep. And that's what any partnership should be. Now, have you run into a lot of scams?
I have, but more so with lead generation, cold calling, that sort of thing. I haven't actually gotten down the path of an actual transaction and having a scam, as you've mentioned, but definitely in the very beginning, trying to only utilize WhatsApp, or they wanted to make an offer on a home. Actually, that brings up a great point. In that Waterfront property that I was talking about in the very beginning, I had a call, and I'll never forget this. And so I was meeting my client out there to view the home, and I get this call, and he goes, "Yeah, I can't get there today. I know I was supposed to meet you, but I want to make an offer anyway." And being a new agent, I'm thinking, "Oh, this is so exciting. He wants to make an offer. I've got two offers going on this property." So I get home and I'm messaging the person. I can't get a hold of them, but he told me all the things he wanted written up in the offer. And I started to think to myself, okay, this is too good to be true. And usually when things are too good to be true, you pull back on the reins and you say, it can't be this good, this quick. That was probably as close as I got to submitting a
So I had 4 land scams last month. And this is a message that, to me, the scams are a big thing to get out there. A lot of agents will just say, "Oh, it's a scam. I'm not going to deal with it."
Right.
But when somebody is posing somebody else, they've already breached the integrity of that person. Okay. One was a client said, "Oh, look, I'm going to be making an offer on this through a wholesaler." Now, a wholesaler has no relationship really with the owner at all. They just get a fee and so it was all rush, 300,000 he was going to put down cash, close in 8 days. So he came to me about just looking at the land, and I said, took him in about an hour, I said, it's a complete scam, which means the wholesaler was now being scammed, which means the multiple offers could have been scammed. But I was able to find the actual owner in Virginia, and it was the second time they were scammed. Then the next day, so they had already gone through the process of trying to clear their credit and that kind of stuff. The next day I got a call to list a property land. It's always land, or there's no mortgage. And listed it. I knew he didn't own it. I looked at the tax card. He said, I'm in Texas now having colon surgery, whatever. But I had the actual address of the guy. I asked him to send a copy of his driver's license, which he did.
Mm-hmm.
And I drove to this guy's house because it's 25 minutes away in land. He didn't know who I was. He thought I was a scam. I have a license plate that says buy, sell. So I don't know what that means. Do I sell stocks, drugs, real estate? I chose the least profitable. And then he had signs all over his property, go away. On the front door, it says go away. He's walking with a killer dog and a stick, comes up to my door. And he doesn't know who the hell I am. And I said, look, I know you don't know who I am, but somebody is actively trying to sell the land. I know you don't, I'm sure not selling. And he goes, I'm not going to say anything about it. I said, well, here's a picture of the driver's license he just sent me. It has your name on it. It's not your picture, but it is a perfect forgery because you know how a driver's license has all those like latent marks all over? They were on it, except somebody else's face. Not as good looking, of course. That's how that works. So I said, just call anybody in Wolfboro. They'll know who I am. And so he did. And that verified who I was. But I got him early enough so he could start the process of clearing his name.
Wow.
And so that was servicing somebody who was already breached. And I feel that's what we need to do as well. It's a lot of work sometimes. But he was happy. And then he got another call from another agent who I know for the same, to list the same thing, same property, twice.
Wow. I wonder what made him that piece of land so vulnerable to want to have maybe it's a blacklist.
So here's what I've been talking with people, and you're an agent as well. They target listings, out-of-state owners, no mortgage. So I'm trying to work out something with a mortgage company to see how it works, to be able to put some sort of lien on a property that becomes obvious. I call it the land scam plan. The LSP, which is almost like LSD.
LSD.
That's how I remember it, by the way, because that could prevent a lot of fraud.
Right.
And then already there's a plan within the registries, and I don't know if you knew this, if anybody, you can sign up at any registry, that if anybody looks at or pulls your deed for any reason, doesn't matter who it is, that you will be notified.
Oh, no, I did not know that.
Yeah, and of course I'll have to remember the site. I can't remember, but all the registries have now started that.
Wow, that's good though.
But that's after they've already been scammed. Now, the fact of the matter is they can get information on tax cards. Now, this guy's, so the driver's license was his driver's license when he lived in Massachusetts.
Oh, don't you usually have to surrender those once you move?
Yeah, the question is, where did he get a copy of his license in Massachusetts? It was a picture of his license on a table with somebody else's face. And I went to the police. I said, I don't mind doing a sting to see if, because what's the end game? I told him he's got to come to a closing. He's got to sign document. He signed documents. They're all he already committed fraud.
Yeah.
But if he was dumb enough, so I suggested that we do the closing at the Registry of Deed, which happens to be across the street from the sheriff. It'd be a short trip, but I don't know.
Usually you get a license with you, so I wonder how he was going to how he thought he was going to get away with.
Because a lot of times transactions are done and they're wired, the funds are wired, and they'll have it notarized, whatever. But it's a lot of work, and police departments don't want to get involved and whatever. But it's rampant.
Wow.
I just feel that if an agent can help the actual owner be notified early, then you're doing a service.
Absolutely. There's another hat that we wear, right, as realtors?
Yeah, it's another hat to cover my hair that's not there anymore. So I just put that out there. because our business is to help people,
Right.
and they may even remember it,
Absolutely.
hopefully, and that's how we get clients. Are there any great stories of things that happened to you that you want people to know about?
Oh gosh, I don't know if I have anything. I really don't think I have anything exciting to share. I feel like the transactions I've been in have been very unique, a lot of emotion. I would say a lot of sad feelings have come with each transaction for a lot of my clients. I don't think
Do
I
you
have any
find
great
that the
stories.
buyers and sellers hate each other before they meet each other?
I think they get a little irritated with some of the questions that go back and forth. And as well as I do, we try to mitigate how many of those asks come through and try to squash it before. You got to really have those conversations. I think one of my last transactions last year, I think my buyer was very perturbed, and I think the seller was very perturbed, and it was not a nice meeting at the table at the signing, but we got through it. So
My very first transaction, the buyer and seller, the sellers divorced 3 years, had not talked to each other literally in 3 years. And it was a very contentious situation. So I figured, let me just do it at the Registry of Deeds and at Brentwood, because there's lots of police there. And I did the closing right next to the candy machine, and nobody was going to hurt anybody.
yeah, I've had a couple of divorce cases myself, but they did fairly well at the closing.
I had one where before the closing happened, the wife said, "I need 2 separate checks because my husband beats me." And I get the phone call as I'm coming in, and I said, "Did they come in the same car?" They did.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, actually the last transaction I just listed a home, and there my client was the husband, and they had already divorced by the time we were closing. And I did foresee a couple of issues. Then we ended up closing with instead of just a title company, we actually closed with an attorney. And I was like, hey, look, I was like, you might want to have conversation about how the checks needed to be distributed. This is what's going on, just to keep the parties at peace and not have any, like you said, have any issues at the table that you need to,
Yes,
yeah.
address. Because
So
we're what? We're
yeah,
psychologists as well.
we're mind readers
Yeah, agrees.
as well.
That's right. And we should always reduce our commission.
Yes. Sometimes you feel that would be the right thing to do, but at the end of the day, we are working. Our time is
We don't get
precious.
paid up front.
Exactly. We're at the very end if it goes through,
Yeah.
right? It's always a big if.
Yeah. But the attorneys get paid. Actually, the title companies don't really get paid until it closes as well.
Yeah.
So, and always, if the offers come in lower than the asking, they expect that we remove our commission.
Mm-hmm.
People
Or
forget,
if there's concession.
like people forget. Let's say it's a 5%, and they want you to take 2.5% off your commission for a price difference that's 2% off of their asking. They want us to reduce our commission 50%.
Right.
So I suggest I will reduce my commission at the same percentage of the difference in the asking, and they'll think it's good, and then they'll realize that it's $1.50 that we're reducing our commission. But we're using math.
Absolutely.
I think that's a good idea. So anyway.
Yeah, I've come into that as we've had a couple of concessions. They weren't huge, but again, at the end of the day, for the net for the seller, sometimes it's a big deal. So as the conversation came up, and they're like, "Are you going to reduce because I'm giving concession?"
Mm-hmm.
It's not what we signed when we discussed the contract.
Now you got just in time for buyer agency differences.
Yeah.
How do you like that? What kinds of things? So, in case people don't know, it used to be that it was very transparent. There was a buyer agent. So, a buyer who brings in an offer would be paid a portion of the commission, and it was known, at least to the agents. Now, in order to show a property, you have to have a buyer agency agreement with a buyer that they will pay a commission if there is one offered. And the buyer's always paid the commission in essence. However, people don't like to sign contracts that they owe money before they even look at something. It always usually can be negotiated, and 87% of all transactions have a co-broke involved. But it's a harder thing for people to understand because it's always been we should drive people around forever and spend all the time because we're paid so much money. But what do you want, like, a prospective buyer to know that we have to do that they have no idea what we have to do without being ever paid?
So you're going into the transaction without anything coming to you in terms of payment. You're usually paying out monetary value, especially if you're listing a home, because you're paying for a photographer. Sometimes you're paying for a cleaning person to come in, and sometimes the seller does not have the funds to help you along in the very beginning. Sometimes they'll reimburse you, sometimes they just won't. And I've even purchased paint trying to list my last home, and it wasn't significant, but still, it's those things. So you definitely have some sort of, I at least have a kitty set up for each house that I'm going to list, and say I'm going to have X amount of dollars set aside for each listing ready to go. But again, you're spending money out of pocket. And if your listing is far away, you've got to commit your time, your gas, things like that. So far, I have not had issues in terms of my clients being not able to refund me or reimburse me or something like that. But I have had just a couple that were small dollars that I needed to invest in myself with them. But at the end of the day, it did not preclude me from doing the job that I was going to do, regardless if I was getting paid and reimbursed for those expenses. Our job is to help. Our job is to educate. We have so many different hats. And if I can provide that to them for a very small cost, even myself, it's going to take my business a long way. People are going to understand that my heart's in it more so than my wallet. And that may not be everyone's motto, but I lead with my heart. I put a lot of care into my transactions. For me, again, it's just a small nominal cost to be able to expand my business.
Of course, you have a financial background, so you can talk finances and you even know what a kitty is.
Yes.
I'm not that organized. But
I try to be.
That's good.
Yeah.
Do you have a website yet?
I do. I have it up on my Instagram account. So I am listing with Laura. You can find me on Instagram. You can also find me on Facebook as well.
That's good.
Yeah.
Do you have a Google business page?
Actually, I do not have a Google business page. Nope.
My little advice is that in order to have a Google business page, we're going to send a postcard to your business. Now, Wolfboro doesn't have mailboxes. They don't send it to a P.O. box. So what we had to do is, it's a small town of 6,000 people with 30,000 in the summertime, is I put on the address 22 South Main, number 450. So the post office knows where to put it. So
yeah, it's another avenue I need to advertise on, correct?
Well, Google reviews is excellent. It's just another place to promote yourself. There's different places, and all the algorithms, everything changes all the time where you need to be. You need to have a Pinterest account, and then it gets too much. In order to get a Facebook business page, you have to have a certain number of friends on your page.
Correct.
And since really your name is your name, I started mine as Waterfront Agent because nobody knows who Michael Travis is, or even Mike Travis.
Smart branding.
Travis, or whatever. That's just, you just keep at it. Just keep looking, see what's going on. And you talked a little bit about AI. How are you approaching? I have a whole bunch of AI videos that are just funny on my website, like me selling an ice house to a bunch of penguins. No, flamingos. And then I sold it selling. It looks like me, sounds like me. It's hilarious. But I actually target those little AI videos toward selling Barbie and Ken a little tiny house. It is amazing what you can do, but it's also frightening.
It is.
In terms of our business, I use it all the time in terms of content, finding hashtags. I'm sure you do a lot of that as well.
Absolutely.
And SEOs, figuring all that out. Still a lot of people, I get calls every day that say, I can get you on the first page of Google. Can they get every single person on this planet on the first page of Google?
That's what I
I
wonder.
don't
If
know.
your SEOs are, even if your SEOs are correct and they're hitting every trending hashtag or search, yeah, how are you going to be number one or on the first page? And there's so many of us that we're all competing for that first page.
But what I do know is that you can't be number one if you treat people like number two.
That's true. That is very true. Yeah, absolutely not. You got to treat people with dignity, with respect, and yeah, it just people are people and they deserve the respect.
Well, that's good. Well, I think we've covered a lot, and it was very nice meeting you. You're working for
It
an
was very nice
excellent
to meet
company.
you. Yes, we
Referrals
do.
back and forth works all the time. In the beginning, it was hard for me to do that. I wanted to get as many listings, but then again, I was starting to collect lakes anywhere and everywhere. It took listings 2 hours away, 8,000 miles.
Yep.
But I have an electric car, so getting the same amount of credit for mileage is more beneficial.
Oh, that's
The other
excellent.
little piece of advice is you want to have a second car, so the car you drive the most, you can utilize totally.
Well, that's true. I do need another car.
So I bought a Miata for $3,000, and that was
Did you?
yes. So an easy pass. Okay, it was very nice talking to you.
Nice talking with you too. Thank you for having me today.
I look forward to working with you in the future. Thanks for tuning in to the Waterfront Agent Podcast. I'll be back with some more stories, tips, and expert interviews, and hopefully some humor. So make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode.